Hey folks, welcome to the Hoboken Historical Museum's Artist Talk. We're featuring tonight an interview with Gary Spector, who will be opening up his next exhibit on this Sunday. And, we generally do an artist talk that precedes the exhibit. So it's Friday night here in the museum. And again, the exhibit's looking good on the wall. You won't get to see it tonight too much, but we're so happy to have Gary. Welcome, Gary Spector.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Okay. So, we probably have an hour to cover a lot of territory. And we always kind of ask people, you live in Hoboken now, and just give us a little background on yourself, how you landed here in Hobokenville.
Okay. Well, I've been here a long time. So this is I'm in my 40th year here.
All right.
I moved here when I was 3. So a little joke there. I came here in college, the second year of college, only planning on being here maybe, 2 or 3 years. I really wanted to live in the city. And but I came, got a great apartment, rent-controlled apartment, ended up staying there for quite a while, fell in love with the town, had a lot of good friends here, still do, and just realized it was a great place to live, and never pursued living in New York again, and stayed, and been here now almost 40 years, raised my kid here, and don't see myself leaving anytime soon.
Right. I hear that from a lot of people. Many people, came here in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s,
Right.
And New York was their wish, but somehow ended up in Hoboken.
Right.
Cheap rent, more space, a little more safety perhaps, or
Right.
perception of safety, especially if you own a lot of camera equipment.
That's for sure.
And then the shoe fit,
Yeah.
and like not really looking back and,
Right.
so on.
And it was a very different vibe back then too, as well. There was a lot of creative people here. It was very affordable, great restaurants. It was a scene, and it was very much like living in New York. And with the proximity to the city, it was the perfect answer.
Right.
Yeah.
So just reminding people that we are on YouTube Live right now, Facebook Live, and Twitter. If anyone wants to log on and say hi to Gary, sort of egg him on or ask a question, we'll try to include your comment. And of course, this program will be archived on YouTube, so you can look it up under Artist Talks. Just put in Hoboken Historical Museum, Gary Spector, and it should come up. But we really want you to come to see the real photos here. We do have some of your photos in our background, and recognizing there's shadows and all things that would annoy Gary, who's a perfectionist. But it does create a nice background for today's talk. So, tell us about the series, how it got started, what it is, some of the triumphs of it, and how it made you feel during this time.
Sure. So this is a series of portraits of essential workers at Hoboken Hospital, Hoboken University Hospital. It all happened during COVID, and I was looking for a project to keep busy. The past year has been really tough work-wise, and especially for creative people and artists and photographers, work kind of just stopped. So I was home and really kind of bored and thinking, what could I do? And I had this idea of photographing essential workers. And I also felt like it was an important thing to be seen and to be heard. So through a few friends in town, I was able to get a few contacts at the hospital. And long story short, they allowed me to come in and photograph these people. So I wasn't expecting it to be as prolific as it turned out to be, but we ended up photographing almost 40 people, and the hospital was phenomenal. The subjects were all just incredible people, and what they went through this past year and what they gave back to Hoboken was immeasurable. So it was a great experience for me, and I hope that the pictures kind of speak for themselves.
I think they do. I mean, I think a lot. Barbara Spencer Drew is saying,
Spector.
"Hey, Gary." Oh, Spector. I'm so sorry. Who is this?
That's my sister.
Your sister. Sorry, sis. Okay, my mistake there. That's cool. and Liz Zabala.
Zabla, that's my wife.
Zabla? Okay, sorry. You're going to have to introduce the people. I seem to be misfocused on names. Photos look fantastic. And hurrah, 80. Who's this?
That I don't know.
Okay, Gary, looking forward to seeing you this Sunday. Yeah, again, please come on Sunday. The opening is 2 to 5. We've extended a little bit so we can do our social distancing thing.
Right.
If we have too many people in the upper gallery, which is 8 people, we will be sharing glasses of wine downstairs and in the walkway. So we hope you do come.
Yeah.
And we, if it's too many people, we'll spread it out a little bit.
Sure.
And we don't really have to close at 5. If we go longer, we know the people have the keys. So, I mean, just tell me again, like you just call the hospital, you had a few friends who might have worked there? Or...
So one of the subjects right behind your shoulder here, a good buddy of mine, Robert Stroll, he's a doctor, and I reached out to him, asking him if he, who he suggested I get in contact with. And he made the initial introduction to the head of the hospital, and a series of emails back and forth and visits to the hospital, just trying to secure the permission to do it and to make sure that it was safely done, because it was pretty much in the height of COVID. So that whole process took about 6 to 8 weeks until the permission was given. And then once it was given, we weren't sure how we actually wanted to do the pictures. Initially, I wanted to do it more environmental, like actually seeing a hospital in the background. But because of safety reasons, it just wasn't the good solution to do it that way. So basically, I just brought the studio to the hospital, and they provided us with this big reception room, like a conference room. Brought in all the lights, backgrounds, and gave people times, and everyone was just, they were great. They were just really unbelievable.
I mean, would you say this work is in the tradition of other photographers that you might kind of connect with or have connected with?
I mean, I guess I don't know how really original you could be anymore in today's.
Sure, but there is a tradition of photographing people in the workplace.
Right. I mean, the thing about this, though, I think that's maybe a little bit different is that, and this kind of happened in the process. If we had done this more environmentally, I don't think the images would have been as strong in retrospect. Once we got into the studio per se, it was really just about the faces.
We are just recognizing someone has signed on. And who's that?
That's Shari. Shari and I worked together in one of my first studio assisting jobs in New York City. And Shari worked there as well. Hi, Shari.
Cool. It's great to see those people support.
Yeah.
And Donna.
Hey, Donna. Hey, Dave.
Okay.
Nice.
And who are those people?
Dave White, our neighbors across the street, another great photographer.
So what block is that again?
Bloomfield Street, between 9th and 10th. So
it's like photographers
Photographer row. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Pretty much.
Yeah, one's odd, one's even.
Right.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's funny.
And it was funny. I was trying to drop off something to you, posters and marketing and stuff, and I couldn't remember your address. During the COVID thing, your just numbers trip out and stuff. So I was looking in windows, and then these people, Soros, looking in their window, and they came out and they said, "Where's Gary live?" And they go, "Do you mean Gary or David?" The other photographer.
Right.
So it was kind of funny.
That's funny.
So they did get there. And so how much time would you spend with someone photographing?
I asked for 20 minutes per person.
Right.
It definitely went the 20 minutes. In some cases, it went a little bit longer. In a few cases, it went a little bit shorter. But we try to keep, as much to the schedule as we could, because it was a very busy time in the hospital.
Right.
And we just wanted to make sure we can get people in and out as quickly as we could.
You try to put yourself in the position of these workers, and they're under pretty intense situation, worrying about their personal safety and seeing, some bad stuff. But when you look at these portraits close, you kind of stare them down and try to read them.
Yeah.
And you actually can start to work up I would say emotions, thinking of what this person has seen.
Yeah.
And so you're bringing certain things to it, which could be all off, but it's an interesting way to react with the pictures.
Right. Well, the thing is also is I think, most of these people are not used to being photographed. And while they kind of understood the scope of the project when they would come on the set, I think it's a natural inclination for people to pose and to smile or to look good.
Right.
And obviously, I was trying to get some emotion out of everybody, and it was actually pretty easy to get, because once it started with a conversation with everybody, and figuring or asking what they did in the hospital, how it affected them, what were some of their experiences, and everybody was very forthcoming, and they talked.
Right.
And once the talking began, the emotions came out, and the feelings came out, and it was really, it kind of made it easy for me.
Right. It's, I don't know, I'm thinking like phototherapy almost, like
Maybe.
they're having a moment to reflect on
And
things.
many of them did.
Yeah.
Many of them did.
Did anyone cry when you were photographing?
One or two people got emotional. Yeah,
sure.
For sure.
Yeah, no, that's pretty intense. Yeah. So again, I think a lot of people are struggling to find relevancy during this time.
Yeah.
And this was your project. So it's pretty cool.
Thanks.
It's pretty cool. And, you're a Hoboken resident. You're doing it in Hoboken. I know you've done a lot of corporate work. Mm-hmm. And I can imagine, you may have done, let's say, corporate brochures, annual reports for hospitals, or, an enterprise. Yeah. And it's a very different environment and a very different type of photograph that's generated from it.
I mean, the process is generally the same as, being a portrait photographer. I approach things generally in the same vein. This was definitely the most emotional shoot I've ever done. And, given the times and given what Hoboken went through, it was hard for me to do it as well. But once I got there and was interacting with the people and really heard the stories, it was easy to do, and it just happened, and it was really a really rewarding experience for me. Yeah.
And how many days?
We did it all in one day.
One day. Yeah, you must have been wiped out.
We were pretty wiped out. Yeah. We started at like 7 a.m, and we went until early evening.
Right. And when you say we,
my assistant, Felicia Abon, hey Felicia, if you're watching, who was awesome, and I couldn't have done it without her.
Right. Yeah. I would think you could start to space, and you need someone to help get you back to your center point, kind of.
For sure.
And then tell me about. I think I saw some of the earlier prints that you made, which might have been in color.
So it was photographed in color. I saw somebody asked a question earlier. Everything is shot digitally, so you shoot in color.
Right.
And I did send you a couple of samples early on, I think, and they were in color. And I realized they just didn't have the same impact. And, also a lot of people are wearing what they wear to work. It's scrubs. They're the same color. It just didn't have the same impact. So I started playing around with black and white, and to me, it was a night and day difference.
Yeah. Love my Uncle Gary. Okay. The family front is signing in. Very cool. Very cool. I remember getting the color shots.
Yeah.
And I remember being underwhelmed.
Yeah.
But I was not going to say anything.
No, I was underwhelmed too.
And I just thought, holy crapola, and then you sent me the black and white ones. You had transferred them to that, and I went, wow.
Yeah.
And why do you think it has such a different impact?
I think black and white it's black and white. It's telling the story in black and it's one of the other. It's bold. It's very dark, this was a dark kind of time.
Here's Michael.
Hey, Michael, another a great photographer.
Oh, wow. Also lives on your block?
No, Michael's up in Martha's Vineyard. He's a wonderful photographer. Check out his work.
We were talking about the black and white versus color.
Right. I just think they're much. The emotion comes out in black and white. They're very. There's a lot more emotion. There's a lot more shadows. There's a lot more depth to them. You know, it just. I can't pinpoint it, but they just. I agreed with you 100%. When I showed you the first initial batch, I wasn't blown away by them at all. But when I started printing them in black and white, they took on a whole new meaning to me.
Right. I mean, I've never seen a bigger difference.
Yeah.
And, you know, they always talk about black and white, you know, you're focusing on design and shape and color is distracting, you know, so I know all that, but I couldn't, it was like night and day.
Yeah.
And not to get too philosophical, but it's, you know, life and death or, you know, I don't know what's going on.
I mean, I wasn't conscious of that,
Right.
but sure, you know what, it makes sense. I can't really put my finger on it. All I know is that when I started making the black and white prints, they came to life. And
and we have a few more individual shots. Maybe we should focus on that. We've been talking about it.
This is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
This woman was in charge of the morgue at the hospital.
Right. But there's such a grace with her gesture and her face. And, you know, usually it's in the eyes, but it's also in her.
And her story, Mina Cruz is her name. She was amazing. She really was one of my favorites. She just really was, her story was incredible.
Right. And of course, like how you, you know, photographed everyone.
Yeah, well, that was one of my requests. If we were going to do the assignment, I wanted to have access to everybody that contributed to COVID and were essential workers. Everyone from, you know, admins to security guards to cooks to porters to doctors to surgeons, nurses. So, and the hospital was really great about that. They helped organize and, you know, they really reached out to everybody. So, yeah, we covered the gamut, I think.
Right. You know, if you were going to be doing an annual report, it would be the front office people and maybe the head surgeon, but you have, shall we say, maintenance department and, you know, from all range, very democratic.
Yeah, we covered the range.
Sure. And who's this gentleman?
He, I believe, is the head of hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. And
just another nurse.
One of the nurses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're sitting on a stool, or
I brought a stool with me. Some were sitting, some were standing. I had initially asked people to bring something that reflects what they do at the hospital.
Right.
I thought it would be sort of interesting. Most people did, not everybody did, but I only photographed a few of them with those objects. I changed my mind in the middle of the shoot. On a few of them it worked, and it worked well.
Right.
Some I just their faces were
right.
enough.
There was the facilities guy with the fluorescent tube. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, again, just so proud that you did this series and that we're getting a chance to exhibit them. In the upper gallery, we generally do exhibits that are 6 weeks in length. They're always an individual artist. It's a small space, so we figure it's, you know, give it all to the artist and do a strong body of work. And you have exhibited here before with the Halloween series, which we'll look at some of the newer ones from that. And generally, we have a rule that we don't display the works from the photographer more than we do. We say this every 3 years, you know, we'll consider a new exhibit. But when I heard you were doing this exhibit, I said, we got to show it. Yeah. Didn't quite know how it was going to fall into the chronology of things. Right. I was hoping we'd be all out of this COVID nightmare. Right. And it would be kind of like looking back, but it's actually a good point because there is this hope that we're over the top and, great to honor these folks, but
Absolutely.
it's not too intense in a sense.
Yeah.
But it turns out with that 3-year idea that when I looked on the calendar, you exhibited the Halloween shots 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I
2018.
Right. And so we've broken the mold for you because of this work.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's also interesting how during COVID, your memory gets all scrambled. And I'm usually pretty good on that 3-year thing. Right. And when I saw the date on the old poster, I went, really? You know, so it's cool.
Well, I won't apply again for 3 years.
Right. So, and Deborah is reacting to the pictures.
Thank you, Deborah.
And who's this?
Shablina. I think it's my sister-in-law.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I'm going to guess.
Okay. Yeah. You'll find out at Thanksgiving. Okay. And I guess we'll go on to some other work, I'm sorry, from the same series.
A few more.
Yeah, a few more. I forgot that one. It's a great shot. I love the hands.
Yeah.
Because he's not quite sure.
He has a great face.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And moving on, I think. Okay. So this is different photography.
Very different from what I normally do. But I thought, yes, it's my sister-in-law.
Okay.
A couple months back, there was a Black Lives Matter march in Hoboken. Over 10,000 people, I think, came into town. And it was something that I felt needed to be photographed. And I don't normally do this kind of work, but it was important and it needed to be seen. And it was really also a very moving and phenomenal day. And, 10,000 people marching in this town. It was peaceful. It was the point got across. It was really moving. It was incredible. So these are just a few images from that.
Right. I think I saw you that day and probably didn't talk much just because it was an intense day and you were photographing and I was probably taking snaps with my cell phone. I don't know if that counts when talking to a professional photographer.
It's relevant. You can work.
But yeah, I think you described the day really well. It was an amazing day.
Yeah, it really was.
I can't think of in a sense, a better, more intense day that I've had here in Hoboken.
I agree.
And, something like that as a white audience could be like, you could almost retreat, but it was really encouraged.
Yeah, no.
And it was a beautiful day.
Even like law enforcement in town, everyone was they understood, they got it. And that's what makes Hoboken kind of a cool place.
Except all those boarded up stores.
Yeah,
that was say that.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. But there was not one incident. So
no, in the end, it was a beautiful day for sure. Yeah. And probably a few more shots from that series here,
there's just
maybe.
A few in there.
Right. Oops, we jumped a little. Yeah, that was just like at Maxwell Place, just a few blocks away. I always call that little area the Canyon of Heroes.
Well, it certainly was that day. Yeah, for sure.
Good, well put.
And this woman was just, what a great face. It was perfect.
Sure.
So, I just threw a few in just so that.
But you have a great ability to, here you are on the street, but you're still really almost like in a studio in a way. You're isolating the person. It's not just a simple reportage.
Honestly, this was the kind of shoot that no matter where you turn the camera, there was a photo.
There was, but there was a lot going on.
Yeah, there was.
And so I think it, depth of field and, just shooting into the sky was a great way to go because that became your background.
Yeah. No, I thought about it for sure. But it did get a little precarious at times just because there were so many people. So moving through the crowds and being able to step back and focus. And I decided on mostly everything I used a wide angle lens so I can get right in there.
Right.
Yeah.
It shows.
So this is another project that I've been working on for the past couple of years, and it's portraits of burlesque dancers. So I've been doing it for probably on and off for about 10 years. And I'm still doing it occasionally. and it's just an ongoing thing. So I just pulled out a few samples of this project.
Sure. So this is a self-generated project, and maybe it'll turn into something else. But
I mean, maybe I'll submit it to a museum in 3 years and see if they want to show it.
Not here. No, just
it's just an ongoing thing. I work as a commercial photographer, and sometimes you can't be as creative as you want to be, and it helps keep the juices flowing, and it's just something I've been working on for quite a while.
So how many shots do you feel are keepers for this series?
Quite a few.
Okay, cool.
I've shot a lot of people.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And pretty much all of these were done in my studio in Manhattan.
Okay, so it's not like a back room in a Hoboken bar.
No.
Okay.
All these are basically all of them are in the studio.
Sure. And so, how do you meet these people?
I initially met it through an assistant of mine who got involved in burlesque, and she introduced me to a few. I told her I was interested, and I met one. They would introduce me to another, and it just kind of. It steamrolled. It just kind of grew.
And so you book a session and in the studio.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And sort of diverting from this, during COVID, wasn't there a period you couldn't even get to your studio?
Yeah, pretty much.
And couldn't get to equipment?
Yeah. I didn't go into my studio probably for almost 4 months.
Right.
But nobody really was going in, and there was no work. So, everything just stopped.
Right.
That's Boo Boo. It's great.
Nice hair. Was there an article in the Times recently about?
There was.
It might have been a particular type of.
Yeah. Not about me. Not my.
No. I understand. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
You gave him the idea, obviously. Yeah. Okay. Just testing my COVID memory. Was that last year or the year before?
So these, I just threw in a couple of examples of really how I make my living. I do a lot of corporate portraiture. I'm a portrait photographer, but my career has sort of gone. I started off in music.
Really? Photographing
music. And I did a lot of that. And I kind of segued, sort of aged out of music photography at some point.
But your ears are still ringing?
Yeah. Right. And I started doing a lot more corporate work and editorial work. So, I just threw in a few of these to show how I kind of make my living. And we were talking about this earlier. This is not Hoboken, but we can see parts of Hoboken.
It's the same fence. I'm confused.
It's a similar
I don't
fence.
see locks on the fence.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
But where is he, in Brooklyn in that shot? Because aren't we seeing Manhattan?
That was in Manhattan. That's in Battery Park.
Oh, so that's Jersey City. Okay, I got it.
You can see on the corner.
It's the Goldman Sachs building, if it's still the Goldman Sachs building on the left, right?
Yes.
And so, something like that, did he just happen to be wearing a red?
No, we did a story on him, and he works for this company AIG, and he's a senior guy in the company, but he's also he's a runner, and we did a story on him, so we kind of wanted to cover the basis of a day in the life type of thing,
right? And
so he gets up at an insane time of the morning, so we were out there at about 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, waiting for the sun to come up. We lucked out. We had a great day.
Right.
So I spent the day with him, and this is where we started off with him running. And then later on, I went to the office, and he had a suit and tie, and we did just a day in the life.
And sponsorship from Nike on there?
Exactly. That would be nice. This is he's sort of well known, George Soros. He's a financier, and I photographed him for a German magazine. He's got a pretty incredible face.
Right, that kind of directness, and the eyes are the window to the soul, or
right. And just another example of portraiture.
Right. Same background as the hospital series.
Mm,
So no,
nope.
it's darker. Or?
That's this solid black.
Okay.
Yeah. I always travel with a black background. This was in his hotel room, and it was really small. He was from out of town. He was in New York for one day, and the hotel was awful. There was nothing to photograph. So in a pinch, put up a black background, and you got a nice portrait.
Right.
Yeah, it worked out well. So this is part of the Halloween series, which I've been doing in Hoboken for 12 years now. We couldn't photograph last year. The only two times we couldn't photograph was last year for COVID and Hurricane Sandy. So it was borderline whether we were going to be able to set up last year, but it just was too precarious. So we decided not to do it. And the city really didn't want that to happen. But this is from the very last photo shoot, which was 2019. And this is just, this talk about the black background. I have this is a different one, just a big background that we put up in front of the house. And this has kind of caught on, and people
to
know
say
about
the
it.
least.
To say, yeah, I mean, we end up photographing hundreds of people every Halloween. I've lost track. And over the years, I think I've photographed close to 4,000 people. So this is just a couple of samples of the last shoot prior to COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
Does anyone ever come up to you later and just say, "You took my picture,"
Oh,
and you're going, "Who are you?"
No, it happens
they're
constantly.
Not in costume anymore.
Yeah. But I give everyone who comes, I will send them a digital image, so they have a little something from the shoot.
And I've seen you in operation, and I see you like crouching down. I'm thinking about your knees.
Yeah, no, I can't walk for like a week after that.
It's like the Olympics of Halloween photography or something.
I got to figure something out for the future because I can't get out of bed for 2 days.
And you also set up I don't know what the camera is, but another camera that videotapes you in action.
Yeah, I put up a
Gobo or something.
No, it's a
sorry.
GoPro.
GoPro, that's right. That's
GoPro.
Right.
Yeah, we do a little kind of time lapse of it,
that's pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Whatever. Yeah. And so most people looking at the photograph would not know that this is within your gate area that might be 12 feet deep by 15, 20 feet?
No, it's actually
less.
It's 10 feet wide at its widest.
Right.
And it's only 8 feet.
Okay.
It's tight.
It's tight, and you are able to pack a lot in there and isolate it, and it's pretty amazing.
Well, I built a platform that kind of covers the entrance to the basement. So the very first year I didn't do that. I didn't know what I was doing. And people were coming in, and I was terrified that somebody was going to fall down the stairs.
Right.
And especially little kids, they're not thinking, and they're excited, and they're running in. So the next year I built the platform, and I put that up every year. So it kind of gives me a couple more square feet of working space. And then I put a really big light in my neighbor's front area. So that kind of hangs over. And so, it works. It's tight, but it works.
And just a lot of energy on the block that
You know what, though? It's great because we throw a party that day. All the neighbors come over, get a couple cases of wine. Everyone's having a good time sitting on the porch. Everyone helps because we keep track of everybody and we keep lists of everybody. And it's like become a real group effort. So It's really a fun day.
No, I think you created a beautiful day there.
It's really fun. Sure. Really fun. And
you get all that sugar,
Right, exactly.
It's rocking.
Well, you know what? Honestly, we give out candy. We buy 2,000, and I'm not exaggerating, 2,000 pieces of candy, and we're out of candy by 6 o'clock.
And that's just one house.
That's our house.
That's your house. Seems like you're giving enough just by
but I mean, you got to reel them in with the candy.
No, you don't. Leave the candy to the other people. Anyway.
It's a little bonus.
No, it's very cool. So we have Liz back.
Yes. takes a village.
Yeah,
there she goes.
definitely does.
She's right.
Wow.
The Halloween crew for sure.
Definitely. Do you have like T-shirts and mugs? And
no, but it's a good idea.
Yeah,
it's about time.
You should be branding.
We do have mugs. We have a few mugs left over.
Okay,
from
very
the Halloween
cool.
show.
Yeah,
but we get faces like this kid, and it makes it all worthwhile.
Sure.
Yeah.
How did you get them all in the frame?
It was tight.
Yeah.
It was really tight. But the other cool thing about this is people know about the project now, and so they come prepared.
Right.
And they prepare for the shoot. Right. So they show up knowing they're going to get photographed. And, if you look at the pictures from year one to where we are today.
Sure.
Night and day.
And do you ever have anyone show up like the day after?
No, but I tell people it takes about 6 weeks for me to get images out.
Right.
And the way we do it is you need to I don't automatically just post them up. Although last time I sort of did, but you need to send me an email acknowledging I did the picture and I send the picture.
Right.
But it takes me a while. And I fix them up. I clean. That background gets very dirty, so I clean it up a little bit. That's all the retouching I do. But to go through all these images and to send them like what I think is the best, I don't give them a choice. It takes a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So I get a lot of complaints.
Here's Pam.
There's Pamela. We were talking about you,
Best
Pamela.
Halloween photographer? Everyone's got a niche, right?
Right.
So,
that's funny.
Best Halloween
Thanks,
photographer in Hoboken.
Right. I'll take it.
Okay. One of your many titles. So you talked about earlier work connected to music.
Yeah.
Right?
So I started out doing a lot of music, a lot of rap, a lot of hip hop. And this was Buddy Guy in Chicago. I got to photograph him for his album cover and spend the day with him, which was insane. It was just incredible. And here we are just hanging out. We're taking a break, and he's just leaning up against a tree, playing the guitar, and perfect opportunity. It was a great experience. And this is MC Light, and we were photographing in the studio. And this was just kind of like an impromptu moment, and I just thought it was a really sweet picture of her. Sort of an outtake, but I really liked it.
And so now with digital, you can really look at your pictures right away. It's not the Polaroid days. It's not the
very different. Whatever. I mean, all of this was shot on film.
Right. So you didn't know you had that drag like that.
No. No. And now, everything has to get scanned, and I have file cabinets full of film that I'm still in the process of going through and picking out images for archival reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
We should try to do some collaboration for archiving the Halloween shots.
That I have a system because that's all digital.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. The old stuff is not as cataloged, right?
And this is a group called Onyx. They were very big back in the day. This was actually a really cool shoot. They wanted it photographed looking like they were sort of floating. So we actually got a piece of plexi that was, it weighed about 600 pounds.
Whoa.
Seriously. And we built a platform, and I was lying on my back underneath the plexi, shooting up. It was insane, but it worked out. Yeah. And this is another pretty big group back in the day, Third Base. And this was actually, we lucked out. We were shooting in Brooklyn, and we found this old abandoned train car over by the tracks, and it was so cool. It was like built for us. It was perfect. So we kind of let ourselves in, and
so location fee was not really
no location fee. This was on the house of New York City.
Right.
So yeah,
they look pretty comfortable, kind of bad boys hanging out.
They were cool.
Yeah.
They were fun.
Right.
And this is just a couple of portraits. This is some new stuff that I've done. This was in the very beginning of COVID, before we stopped going in. And this is she's a hairdresser in Jersey City, and she just has an awesome look to her. So I asked her if I could photograph her. And I had the opportunity to photograph Jeffrey Tambor. This was also right before COVID, and so that was kind of fun. And he's got a
So this is in his home, and you kind of
No, this was actually up at Purchase College. He is doing a project up there with a friend of mine in town who lives in Hoboken, who also does a podcast of it's called Acting Schmacting, and they co-host Steve Fink is his name. So they co-host this podcast. So I asked him if I could photograph, and he said, yeah, come on up. And I did some photos of the two of them and some of Jeffrey alone. And it's a really cool podcast where they just interview actors and actresses on their career. So kind of fun. And this was just a portrait I did of this guy. I did this project it's called Venture House in Queens, and he is associated with Venture House. And I just thought, he looks like Superman there. He's such a cool, just a cool image of him. And so I really liked it, and I just wanted to show it here. And this is bringing it around to Hoboken again. This is exactly, this is a job I did also just for myself. Tom Newman, who's sort of a legend in town, and he's a woodworker, and he's been here forever. This is Vlad, and Vlad works with Tom. He's like the master builder there, I guess. And he's a great guy. He's got a great look to him. And so I asked if I could do his portrait. And this was in their shop at the Newman Leather Building in Hoboken.
Of course. Recognize those Newman windows.
Yeah.
Cool. So, again, we're sort of back to promoting this exhibit,
Okay.
Promoting you, promoting Hoboken. Are there any other projects that you've worked on in Hoboken that you might want to reflect on?
I did a project, and this was during COVID, they're called True Mentors.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And they work for, you probably could describe it a little bit better than I can for what they actually do. They work with.
My main knowledge of True Mentors is they are helping families connect with other people in the community who might introduce them to other things they might not normally do.
And they have an after-school program, and they bring kids in. They do phenomenal work.
Right. I'll mention the name Maria Lara, who I know works with.
Right, and that's how I kind of Maria. Actually, she found me through the Halloween project.
Cool.
And so they had an idea of doing family portraits for the holidays, for people that really have never had the opportunity to have their family portrait done. So it was smack in the middle of COVID, and we needed to figure out the logistics of that to make it work, which we did. But we had a shoot set, and then somebody ended up getting COVID that we were going to photograph, so we had to scrap it. But then we were able to revisit it a couple of weeks later. Everyone was healthy. It worked out fine. And we ended up photographing about 12 families. And it was really nice. So they came, we did really whatever they wanted, the kids, the grandparents, whole families. And then we made prints for them.
Did you use the neutral background for that too, or
for that one I used a very neutral background, and we kept it relatively simple and very well lit, it was nice. So I hope to do some more work with them as well in the future. But in terms of other Hoboken projects, not right now. There's a couple things I hope to be doing that I'm working on. I don't really want to talk about it now just in case it doesn't happen, but I'm always looking to do Hoboken projects. And
so folks,
so we'll see. There's a couple things that I think are going to happen over the next couple of months that I'm looking forward to.
And are you optimistic about things returning back to a livelihood?
I am. And they are a little bit. They're starting to, now that people are getting vaccinated and businesses are opening up, the phone is ringing again. I am optimistic. I think it's gonna take a while. I don't know, and it's going to be a different environment. It's going to look different than it did a year ago or 2 years ago, and the way we do it is going to be different. But people are always going to need photographs, and I think it's going to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big gig, but you did didn't you do a photo shoot for New Jersey Monthly?
Yes, I did. Oh yeah, that's a Hoboken.
You photographed Jack Silbert, during story time
at the museum.
Down at the museum's, shall we say, Fireman Museum at 213 Bloomfield.
I forgot about that.
And I sort of did too, but it's funny how things intersect.
Yeah. That was great. That was COVID. Yeah.
That was like 10 years ago. No. It was when was it? Who knows? But it was during COVID. I know.
It was during COVID.
Yeah.
And
because we actually closed the Fireman Museum during COVID,
right,
and we opened up for your photo shoot.
And I appreciated that.
And I was a little worried, like, will this bring people and we're not open?
Yeah.
But it was more featuring Jack's involvement.
Right. Yeah. And that worked out well. We had a couple of little kids that were our models as well.
That's right. And proud to say that we have reopened the Fireman Museum with the warmer weather. The door can come up and we get a good flow of air.
Yeah.
And just plugging that a little, that's now open on Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 5. It's not, we actually had pretty good visitation, but you don't really need to make an appointment because it just almost creates more problems with the appointment than whatever.
No, that's the first time I had been in the museum.
Yeah,
so it was really
our
cool.
Secret place.
It really is. It's a treasure of Hoboken that everyone should see for sure. I spent time there.
Maybe a series of portraits of retired firemen.
It's been discussed. It's been thought of.
Okay.
And even active firemen as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be a good place to do definitely the retired guys.
Right. Well, you're the man who knows all those people.
That's true. There's actually a secret room upstairs, which is kind of where the retired guys gather.
Oh, really?
They have union meetings and so on. So
that's
just going to dangle that as...
You don't even have to dangle.
Okay.
I took the bait.
Okay, good.
That sounds like a great project.
Okay.
I'd love to do that.
Good. Yeah, we'd love to work with you more. And, again, the set of photographs of the hospital workers is unique. It's, I would say if it wasn't during COVID, they might not have the same impact. It's kind of weird.
No, the COVID definitely.
Right. So we're not going to say it's a good thing, but it's
a relevant thing.
It's a record of time, and I think 100 years from now, these pictures will have more significance.
Yeah. Well. So. Time will tell for sure.
Right. We won't be around, but
but hopefully the museum will be around.
That will be some form, But think of the work of, let's say, August Sander, who photographed, Germans before the war. They've become really important, and I put this in that realm actually. Well, within the Hoboken context,
of course,
on there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be compared to August Sander, but
why not?
I appreciate.
Why not? Neutral background. In a sense, yours are more interesting. I mean, he did all of German society, but you just, you narrowed the focus to the culture of the hospital, and it wasn't just front office. It's, all the way from the facilities person, and pretty cool. And I hope we get to meet some of these workers.
I hope
when they come in. The show is up for 6 weeks. Yeah. It's up until June 13th, so hopefully someone upstairs there is listening and can get the word out. And their
I know the word's definitely been out, so I expect to see.
Great. And I have some real favorites here. There's the one doctor. It's kind of hard to see. It's in the background of this, but the one doctor behind you here, he's wearing one of those shower caps,
right?
And it's on my far left, I guess you would say, and in the poster too, which is on the screen.
Right.
And he looks so self-assured, and with the shower cap on, which at first seems a little, opposite or whatever, but it works.
And it was funny when he came, his thought was, "Oh, should I take the cap off?"
Right, and you're going, "No, this is character." Yeah, definitely.
He's an anesthesiologist at the hospital.
Sure, but he looks like. From the Medici family or something. He just really looks so proud and dignified. And I kind of like that a lot on there. So anything you want to end with? Or
no, I mean, I just want to thank you for the opportunity.
Of course.
And, I'm very excited about it, and I look forward to people coming and seeing it. And I'm really grateful for Hoboken Hospital for giving me the opportunity to photograph and to come in and to meet all these amazing people. I just want to say it again that what they did this year is unbelievable, and how they gave back. And that hospital runs 24/7, obviously, and these people were there all the time.
Right.
The other thing too that was interesting is that when talking with a lot of these people, they've been there a long time. Like most of the people that I talk to, not the young guys, but they've been there 20, 25 years. There's longevity in that hospital. It was really, the stories were incredible.
Right. And you don't really think about that.
No.
You're just like, I don't want to go there.
Right.
That's sort of
But it also, they're part of Hoboken.
Sure.
They're not just driving into work every day doing their job and taking off.
Right.
This is their community.
Sure.
They really...
They've really stepped up.
They really did.
I know the hospital has had or still has financial issues,
Right.
but no one's really talking about that now.
Yeah.
Everyone's just so happy they're there.
Right.
It is, I think, probably the main place for vaccination.
Yeah.
And people have only said good things about how that process went.
Right.
And so this is their time.
Yeah,
for sure. On there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is our plexiglass partition. So
Right.
I'm gonna let's do a fist bump. Okay, cool. And it's for some reason, it's a little more visible than some of our past programs, but that's our social distancing.
Right.
Have you been vaccinated?
I have. I got
Okay.
my second one almost 10 days ago.
Okay, I'm sort of in the same group,
Yeah.
but we're still using our plexi,
Mhm.
and we need to clean it a little as I look at it, but it's worked out pretty good.
Right.
So I guess we're signing out. I want to thank Rand Hoppe, who's about 15 feet from me at
Right.
two
My
monitors,
friends.
and he's got earplugs on. He's been checking our sound quality and monitoring it and advancing the program. Couldn't do it without him.
Yep.
And gives us a lot of confidence to do this, knowing that there's someone with his knowledge on all this.
Right.
So and we've been learning, actually. So each one has gotten a little better.
Sure.
And thanks for advancing us in this.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
And I guess we also we'll be signing out, but we want to thank Hudson County Office of Cultural and Heritage Affairs. Let's see, the main people we deal with there are Gina, Joe, and Matt, and we get grants from them to help support these exhibits. And we are just so happy for the county for, giving this type of support for over 20 years. So it's an important keystone in our funding. And again, just reminding people that this will be archived on YouTube. And you can also see it on Facebook, Twitter, and it lives on. So let's say we had a certain amount of viewers tonight, but then they'll be telling other people, and they can go to the museum's YouTube channel, shall we say. And then we do have another series, which may seem similar to this. This, again, is honoring the artists who exhibit upstairs. But the other program that we do is Hoboken Talks on Thursday night. Rand engineers that also. We do have changing hosts for that. And our next one will be with, let's see, I believe it's Bill Miller next Thursday, which I'll also be hosting. I gotta get some other people in this gig here. And then Jack Silbert will be hosting. He's done several.
Right.
And he'll be interviewing Todd Abramson, who is the programmer for Maxwell's for many years and is doing it other places now.
Right.
So I think we're signing off. I want to thank everyone for listening, and please spread the word, and maybe see you on Sunday with social distancing and wine.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thanks again.
We're out of here. Enjoy your evening.